Lori, Shem-Tov and Moti Leybel are political prisoners in Israel. They led the fight against corruption of the family courts in general, and in particular the taking of children from their biological parents, particularly poor parents, and transferring them to foster families. They pay fortune to foster families to take care of these children, and for that money they could have afforded the biological families luxurious life, but they prefer to take the children from the biological families and transfer them to foster families, or adoption sometimes. If it's young children, they take them to adoption, which is even worse because the evidence shows, including testimony by a former family judge in the Knesset committee, that social workers wanted her to take children for a mother, a biological mother, poor one, in order to sustain the adoption project in the northern district. A retired judge testified. So they led the fight against all this corruption, and in particular they protested against judges, and that is intolerable by the judges, and now the judges are engaging in retaliation. The retaliation in this case and the conduct of the justice system against these political activists demonstrated the corruption of the justice system better than ever. It started with the arrest of Moti Leybel in what is called a black hole facility in the heart of Tel Aviv. In his process, it turned out that he was held for 10 days in solitary confinement under conditions that would be considered by international law torture, and it was done for the purpose of extracting from him confession. I'll go now step by step. The issue of conditions of that illegal confinement. The police, I'll start it differently. Moti Leybel said that he was held in a solitary confinement room, that he was not allowed to meet a counsel, that he was not allowed to go out of his room, that he had a firing range shooting in the background all the time, that lights were on 24/7 in his room, and that above his head he could hear all the time trucks driving. In short, they held him in sleep deprivation for 10 days. During these days, they conducted hours and hours of interrogation, sometimes 10 hours, sometimes more a day, all in order to extract from him confession. One has to recall that in Israel, the system can be considered inquisitorial system. It is sufficient in Israel to have confession or to claim to have confession, even if the defendant denies it in court, and now, according to a ruling of the Israeli Supreme Court, something lighter than a feather to convict a person. So, and on top of it, they do not dismiss a confession even if it was extracted under illegal circumstances. So, basically, police is always trying to extract confession one way or another. The case of the black hole in Tel Aviv was exposed in an unusual way in this case, because Moti did not understand that he was held in an illegal facility, but he complained only about the conditions. And then the judge asked for police response, and the police response, it was fully documented that they were running an illegal black hole facility in the heart of Tel Aviv, and that they were doing it for interrogations. The issue is that even after it was exposed, and we filed a freedom of information request with the police to find out if there's any legal foundation for the maintenance of such facility, they refused to answer. None of the legal organizations in Israel said anything. The judicial and justice authorities, of course, did not say anything, and it just goes on. It's just incredible. That was just for the opener. The next big issue was fake search warrants. In this case, it was exposed that the Tel Aviv Magistrate Court, for years, and even after numerous complaints, was running proceedings for the issuance of search warrants by police with no court files, with no registry at all. Police would come and ex parte, that means in the presence of police alone, the judges will just rubber stamp all the police requests, and there was no registration, who issued it, what grounds, who appeared in court, no court case number, nothing. They were just doing it in bulk as rubber stamps. It was also exposed in this case. What also was exposed was that they had fake records for the indictment, which is extremely despicable violation of human rights, because it's a basic right of the defendant to know what he's accused of. In this case, the prosecution filed one indictment record in the court file, and a different record was provided. You cannot say served because it was all fake. And they provided the defendants in prison different records as an indictment, and it was exposed again in this case. But such practices are common in Israel. It was documented numerous times. Neither attorneys nor judges who do this are ever held accountable. Basically, they established a system where the prosecution and the judges are above the law and they can frame anybody they want. What else was exposed in this case? The latest thing is what was exposed or claimed or described by Lori's counsel today in court. Jonathan Rabinovich did a nice job, I must say, and he described the case which is probably the first ever in Israel, where people are held in advance for the duration of process in detention. And in court he started listing some of the worst cases of murders, of organized crime and murder in Israel. And in all these cases, people were provided with an alternative to detention, such as home arrest or some other alternatives. But in this case, they're holding them in detention for the duration of process. What it means in effect is that, and that's the last thing I want to say, that to this date, they've been now held from March, April, May, June, July, August, and now we're in September. 6 or 7 months, Lori has not seen one page, one part of the evidence against her. It's in blatant violation of even Israeli law, and her attorney again stated that in court. She was never provided a single page of the evidence against her. The court purportedly issued a decision ordering the prison service to let her see the evidence, but the prison service is behaving as if they are confused or whatever, and to this day they will not let her see any of the evidence. Her attorney also described a situation where he cannot meet her in prison. There was a case that she was held for 3 weeks in solitary under despicable conditions. In short, all the signs of retaliation against political prisoners. The bottom line is, in the state of Israel, political prisoners are not awarded the basic rights for due process and fair and public hearing. Total disregard of international law.